government shutdown, TSA lines are really long, and at the same time, we're entering spring break season.
At airports nationwide this morning and tomorrow.
Look at those
Peter and Laura.
Tom Costello, we appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Millions of spring break travelers are on the move, hacking airports.
Now, TSA sources are telling News 4 that it's gotten so bad that some workers are sleeping in their cars.
If you were flying this week, go ahead and get to the airport 4 hours early because people have had to wait that long.
Imagine being stuck at the airport.
Have y'all ever been
long lines, barely any workers.
No.
Only one TSA line worker. Currently at the Luis Munoz Marin Airport in San Juan, and the TSA lines are backed up. Hardly any employees. Flights delayed. People have been standing in line for hours, and there is no one in sight to help. And with another 2026 United States government shutdown, this is what we all were concerned about. We're not dealing with fewer workers, slower operations, and our travelers stuck with dealing with chaos. Is this fair? If you have a flight in San Juan or in any international airport during this government shutdown, please give yourself about 4 to 5 hours ahead of time to get to that airport. You will need every minute. The line at the airport currently goes all the way outside, stretching about a mile.
We have arrived at RDU Airport. Let's go see how long the actual wait is at TSA, because everybody says you need to be careful because they're missing flights everywhere. It is 10:02 a.m. and we are walking into the airport. Let's see how long it takes. We are approaching TSA and it appears that we may potentially be the only people in line at TSA. So don't believe the hype. It's Sunday. It is spring break. And there's nobody here at all. Like, legit, I think we're going to walk straight through security. Okay, so there's maybe 10 people in line. 10:13. We made it through security by 10:13. Literally, we are here 3.5 hours early because everybody on TikTok and everybody on the news is saying that the lines at TSA are ridiculous and you're going to miss your flight. If you're flying out of RDU, no, you're not.
Do pre-check, they say. What the hell? This is freaking New York LaGuardia Airport. On my way to Houston this morning. This is freaking ridiculous. It's all the way, the line is all the way back by the parking lot.
This isn't a concert. This isn't a theme park. This is the freaking TSA line at the airport wrapped outside into the parking garage. Why? Because Democrats shut down funding and now the entire travel system is grinding to a halt. That means TSA delays, missed flights, families stranded in airports. This isn't some political game for the people standing in this line. Everyone should be calling your Democrat senators and telling them to fund the freaking government. Americans should not be stuck in airport purgatory because politicians in Washington can't or won't do their job.
The TSA shutdown is a real thing.
Let's head to Dallas.
My full-time job took me to Dallas this week for meetings and a photo shoot. The partial government shutdown has now stretched into its 4th week, and Friday marks the day that TSA workers won't receive a paycheck. This has resulted in super long lines and delays at the airport. I try to give myself enough time to get to the airport park and even spend some time in the lounge. But today wasn't enough. I travel enough that I have TSA pre-check and I have a clear membership. I even have digital ID. At this point, I realize I picked the wrong line. I am in danger of missing my flight.
Well, I had to run. But I am on board and I made it.
Now, TSA sources are telling News 4 that it's gotten so bad that some workers are sleeping in their cars outside of airports, including Dulles International, because those workers can't pay rent or afford gas to drive around.
I said this a couple of months ago, and I'm saying it again. TSA, stay home. The domino effect of you all not coming to work will be very huge. This administration has played in y'all faces way too much, and it is past time for y'all to get some respect put on y'all's position.
A senior TSA official confirms an internal report to NBC News that around 300 officers have now quit, and many, many more are calling out sick That's part of the issue that's been causing long lines at some TSA checkpoints across the country.
No airport in this nation can function without TSA. Let me repeat this, and especially in the era that we're in, while this country has inserted itself in a current war, while this country has a huge problem with Islamophobia. Air travel as an industry will be shut down if TSA workers did not come to work. If you all don't go to work, the planes can't go in the air because people can't get through security. People are going to cancel their flights. And you know what happens after that? These billionaire CEOs that are like BFFs with Trump and all his cronies, they gonna get real mad. They're going to threaten to pull back that monetary support that they were giving. And trust and believe, they're billionaires. They wanted the tax break, they gave support. If you are in the DC area specifically, I promise you, we have the organizers and the people who are willing to do what is necessary to help support you. But I think it is past time that you all come together nationwide and decide to call out sick until further notice.
With spring break around the corner, I think people need to be aware of what's going on at the airports. Let me tell you, it's not great. The problem is long lines are forming at some TSA checkpoints as the ongoing partial government shutdown now meets spring break. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. So what you have to understand is 50,000 TSA agents went without their first paycheck this week. And it hasn't been that long since they didn't have one before. Last weekend, there were up to 3-hour waits just at the Houston airport. Atlanta Airport, the world's busiest by passenger numbers, said it expected to serve 250,000 travelers this weekend and advised people to arrive 3 hours early. Now, not only that, oil spikes are pushing airlines to hike ticket prices because you got to have jet fuel. So with a geopolitical conflict going on, high oil prices, and a government shutdown, I think people need to be aware of all this because even as of right now, traveling is a nightmare. Imagine in a week or two. If you're thinking about going to Europe for spring break, oh boy, prices are going through the roof, mostly because people are trying to leave the area right now that we're in this geopolitical conflict with. I just think there needs to be awareness. Be smart and be prepared because this could be some very stressful spring break travel.
Let's start off with the story of the day. Some airports this week advising passengers to arrive 4 hours before their flight just to get through security as absences and a growing number of resignations at TSA continue to grow because of this partial government shutdown.
You're right, and it's getting very, very bad at certain airports, like even at Denver, where the actual airport authorities are asking passengers to tip the TSA people. Like they're creating fundraising to try to keep them on the job. This is, we saw this happen during the last government shutdown, which is a full government shutdown with the air traffic controllers. But now this is going into the third week where the TSA agents have not been paid. The only good news is they've reopened global entry, but for everybody else, get ready for long lines that could stretch as much as 3 hours. And there's no the talks going on to restart the government to fund Department of Homeland Security, TSA, the Coast Guard, and stuff like that. And as I mentioned, spring break is just getting underway this weekend. So how bad potentially could it be at some of our airports? And is it only happening? Some airports are really bad, others aren't being affected as much? Well, you know what? I don't think that in Wyoming it's a problem right now, but in South Florida, get ready. It's spring break, both coming in and going out. So, yeah. It's a problem, and we don't see any signs on the horizon yet of a solution being negotiated in Congress. The hope is that they will do that relatively soon because the economic impact alone, Manny, is substantial.
I'm an airline employee, and here's a quick PSA to anybody traveling over the next few weeks. Due to the government shutdown, TSA lines are really long, and at the same time, we're entering spring break season, which is literally one of the busiest times of the year to travel. If I were you, I would arrive 2 to 3 hours before domestic flights, 3 to 4 hours before international flights. I would also check the TSA wait times online, and I always recommend that people get TSA pre-check and clear. Also, if you don't have to, don't check a bag. Just make your check-in process easier by having less stops. But yeah, I just wanted to share that and give you guys some airline employee insider tips.
I'm at the DCA airport, and a lot of people don't know this, but more than 60,000 TSA workers are going to be going without their first paycheck this weekend because of the partial government shutdown. And I wanted to tell you guys really quickly about some of the conversations I'm having with TSA workers here about what's going on. And just for context, my name is Camila. I'm a political reporter based in DC. Number one, I've been hearing from a lot of TSA workers where their essential sentiment is that they're very fed up about what is going on, and a lot of them feel like they're collateral damage
to what is happening on Capitol Hill with lawmakers, both Democrats and Republicans, not agreeing about passing funding for the Department of Homeland Security. They say that this is really a fight about immigration-related activities, and they have nothing to do with it. So they don't really understand why they're the ones that have to be financially impacted by this. And I know I'm talking a lot about the finances, but a lot of the TSA workers I spoke to that didn't want to be on camera because they're scared that they're going to lose their job spent a lot of time talking about the emotional toll that this partial government shutdown has taken. I know we're in day 29 right now of it, but they were kind of talking about the fact that just over these last few months, they've experienced 3 government shutdowns. One TSA worker I spoke to said he's been a TSA worker for 5 years, and he has just never experienced anything like this. He says he still has bills due, he still has rent due, and the fact that he's being encouraged by his supervisors to take out loans, to take out money from his retirement, he says that's completely unacceptable, and is one of the main reasons why he's putting his 2-week notice, basically saying that he can't do this anymore, that he can't really live like this where he never knows when he's going to get his money back, the back pay that all federal employees are due if they have to show up to work. And he's also just saying that he doesn't want to deal with just the financial and emotional toll of this, that this is financially and emotionally exhausting. And he says that a lot of his coworkers right now are calling out of work, calling out sick, just saying that they're simply not going to go to work if this continues because they don't really know when this is going to end. And I think I wanted to really share what I'm hearing right now because we talk a lot about the short-term consequences of a partial government shutdown, like the long airport lines and the fact that there's delays. But we're not really talking enough about the long-term impact of this partial government shutdown, or just even the government shutdowns that have happened in the past. And that is the fact that a lot of people, a lot of experts have weighed in on this, that their fear is that these partial government shutdowns, these shutdowns that have happened the last few months, is really going to cause a mass exodus of federal employees to leave the federal workforce because they have been so disillusioned by everything that's going on. And I can tell you firsthand that I talked to so many federal employees these last few months. They're in my inbox, they're coming up to me when I'm doing my job, and they even tell me I'm not going to put up with this anymore. And I just really think it was important to come on here and share what I've been hearing before I do my TV hit where I go on national TV and to talk about this. Anyway, I'll see you guys later, and drop a comment below of what your thoughts about this are, because I know I'm here and I'm hearing it from people, but I'm very curious for people that are bystanders or experiencing delays at airports. What are your thoughts?
You're at South by Southwest right now and you have to head to the airport. Beware. It's bad, y'all. Very, very bad. Get there very, very early. If you have gold premium, any of that, there's a special line. If you have clear, if you have TSA pre-check, they're all hours long. So just be prepared. I have clear plus and premium, and I still had an hour and a half long wait. So the lines are insane. They are all the way outside of the airport. All the videos you've seen, it's all true. So careful.
Sunday, March 15th, and I'm back at the airport at 5 o'clock in the morning. Austin Bergstrom. Let's see what it looks like. Park and Zoom, and they dropped us off downstairs because he said it's just too crazy to be dropped off upstairs. It's pretty chill down here. See, the line is already outside. Here we go. It's looking rather full. Right, go outside. Oh my goodness. We are queued up outside. Oh my god. This is crazier than last time. Oh wait, it's just not ending. Oh my god. Left. Insane. Priority. Okay, priority is where it's at. If it's possible. Holy smokes, thank God for priority. And just like that, we are out of security. Thank goodness for priority. Priority is different than TSA pre-check. Priority is when you have a first class ticket, I believe. First class.
So if you have a first class or business class ticket, you get priority on your boarding pass.
TJ knows that when we travel during South by and spring break, it's crazy. So this is when he will splurge on first class for priority. TJ, why don't you stand at the top so we can make the Cruel Intentions video?
It's a very sad movie.
Y'all, how did I show up almost 6 hours early for my flight and still stressed about missing it? No, seriously, look at this. This video is sped up 2.6x. and it's still taking forever. Child, the TSA line was so long, it went from check-in, past baggage claim, and all the way down to passenger pickup. Like, huh? At this point, the line looks like it's about to leave the airport itself, okay? And you know the lines were long because from time to time, you had people set up in little carts passing out waters and snacks to keep us from passing out because some of us had been standing in line for 4 hours. Even the news showed up because I don't think anybody has ever seen anything like this before. So apparently, travelers flying out of the Houston Hobby Airport are dealing with hour-long TSA lines because of the staffing shortages tied to the government shutdown. When I tell you, it feels like these people just said, y'all got it, and left the rest of us to figure it out ourselves. The wild part is 2.2 million people are expected to fly through or to Houston this month alone. So I am curious about how this is about to play out for the long term. Because if this is the preview, girl. Now, granted, I had a time in Houston. Houston don't owe me nothing. I enjoyed myself, but I am not going to lie. This line might make me rethink coming back anytime soon because how you show up 5.5 hours early and still feel like you're about to miss your flight? At this point, the plane might leave, come back, and I'll still be in line. And just in case you haven't noticed, the line is still going. Y'all.
If you were flying this week, go ahead and get to the airport 4 hours early because people have had to wait that long just to get through TSA lines this week. So videos have started popping up everywhere of people waiting in lines in Detroit, in New Orleans, in Texas, all waiting up to 4 hours in line at TSA because of how long the lines are getting. And this is because, even though a lot of people forget, we are still in a government shutdown, meaning a lot of positions like TSA employees are not getting paid. So a lot of them just aren't coming into work. Because who would want to come into work and not be getting paid? I don't blame them, but that means there are way less people to check your bags and to check your ID and your tickets. Plus, you have to have that new real ID, so that's adding another step. Some people, once they were already in line, got a text from their airline saying, make sure you get here early because we are going to leave regardless of how long the line is for TSA. So if you're not getting there at least 3 to 4 hours early and you're in one of these big cities that are getting these super long lines, you might be missing your flight. Good luck to you if you are traveling this week because it doesn't look like the government shutdown is going to end anytime soon and these long lines are going to keep happening.
The Department of Homeland Security shutdown has entered a volatile 5th week, leaving 50,000 TSA officers without pay as spring break travel reaches its peak. President Trump has taken to social media to urge these unpaid federal employees to remain at their posts, promising they will not be forgotten. However, the reality on the ground is stark. Wait times at major airports have surged past 3 hours in cities like Houston and New Orleans, driven by a doubling of unscheduled absences and a 25% spike in staff attrition since the funding lapse began on February 14th. The political stalemate in Washington centers on immigration enforcement reforms, with Senate Democrats blocking a House-passed funding bill to demand operational limits on ICE and CBP. Beyond the long lines at airport checkpoints, the shutdown is straining essential services across the Coast Guard and FEMA. As the legislative gridlock continues, federal workers describe a sense of abandonment while struggling to pay for basic needs. Travelers and employees now look toward the Senate for a potential breakthrough to restore funding and stabilize national security operations.
If you've been saying the hype on social media or on the news about TSA and the airport lines being crazy, they're not wrong. It is Saturday, March 14th. My flight is at 1 p.m., but I'm flying Frontier. I know, don't judge me. And it took me an hour and 5 minutes to get through TSA. I took videos so you guys can see it, okay? I don't know how many people asked to cut me in line because they're about to miss their flight, but I'm not getting jumped because you didn't plan ahead of time. And I am a person who likes to get to the airport 2 hours early. That whole airport theory, not for me, babe.
It is now day 25 of the shutdown at the Homeland Security Department, which is causing major disruptions at airports across the country. Today was slightly less of a headache for travelers. More than 2,000 U.S. flights were delayed, according to flight tracking site FlightAware. On Saturday, that number was nearly 10,000. Democrats are demanding reforms to the department's immigration enforcement policies and have offered to fund all non-immigration related agencies, but Republicans in the White House say the entire standoff just needs to end.
It is true that we are still far apart on the question of ICE. It is also true that there is no reason at all to hold TSA or the Coast Guard or FEMA hostage.
Call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering.
Up at airports nationwide this morning and tomorrow. Peter and Laura.
Tom Costello, we appreciate it. Thank you, Tom.
Millions of spring break travelers are on the move, packing airports, all while funding for the Department of Homeland Security is halted, and 60,000 TSA workers are receiving their first $0 paycheck.
I have 3 kids, a wife who depend on me to go to work, and
that's crazy.
They depend on me.
That is insane.
To feed them, to take care of them.
It's a growing crisis. Denver Airport now asking travelers to donate food and gas cards. Food pantries opening up from JFK to Seattle.
I do plan on coming to work as long as I can. If I can't come to work, then I can guarantee you there's a lot of other people that are not going to be able to make it.
Since the shutdown, more than 300 TSA workers have quit, and call-outs have more than doubled. This after chaotic scenes and long lines like these in Houston, New Orleans, and Atlanta.
They're gonna do DoorDash,
and this morning,
Uber
the
Eats,
TSA
all that.
exclusively sharing this video with GMA, now being played in airports nationwide, warning passengers about longer than average wait times and staffing shortages due to the shutdown. This comes as the TSA acting deputy administrator tells us they've seen a rise in attacks on officers.
We've seen increases in assaults on our TSA officers, which is always completely unacceptable. And so we just ask our passengers to please be respectful, thank them, because they're doing an incredibly difficult job under incredibly difficult circumstances.
Despite the shutdown, airlines trying to keep up with demand are adding flights. United Airlines expects this to be the busiest spring break season ever.
Some guidance for those traveling in the coming weeks. To save time, avoid checking a bag. Do your best to carry on. Arrive early, 3 hours before a domestic flight, 4 hours for international travel, and always look out for the latest updates from your airline and airport. Guys?
Yeah, well, they always say, Pat, you're patient. All right, Victor, thank you.
3 and 4 hours before you can actually catch a flight.